So that's it is. We'll go ahead and call order the regular council meeting of Monday, September 15th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Please rise for the invocation and the pledge of allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity we have of serving you. We pray that you be with each of us. Help us to remember the people that we are working for and continue to work through each of us. Give us the wisdom and guidance that we need and direct us in the direction we need to go. For we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Council, do we entertain a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. The motion carries. Council, do we entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of September 2nd, 2025?
So moved.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to nominations for recognition. Does the council have any nominations for recognition? No nominations for recognition? Okay. Moving on to certificate of recognitions, which there are none tonight. This is going to be kind of a quiet meeting. I'm looking in the audience and I don't see either of our folks
Dead French is
here. All right, sorry. I was picturing somebody else, Deb. I guess I didn't.
There's two dead Frenches and I'm not her.
Okay, being that Kevin Falk is not in attendance right now, would you like to
Certainly.
for the council?
I just wanted to address some of the city ordinances that I feel are currently being enforced. And the biggest one right now is, I called the city office back in probably May, and then I was told I had to call the police department, which I notified the police department twice, and then I filed a formal complaint with the police department. And what I'm referring to is the property at 202 Highland. It's my understanding that that has been fallen under bankruptcy and it is currently vacant. And if you go down the alley, which my neighbor can attest to this, we have a garbage dump growing back there. And I would like this removed because I've had mice and snakes showing up in my backyard and it's directly across the alley from me. There's tires and furniture, propane tanks, and just yesterday, or the day before, the previous resident came and moved his fifth wheel out of there. And the grass is knee-high. It's not grass anymore, it's weeds, but I want this cleaned up, and I'd like to see it done before winter, because this is a hazard. It stinks over there. I've gone over there and dumped water out of the containers throughout the summer to try and keep the mosquitoes down. I found rotting food, which I've cleaned up to keep my animals out of, and it shouldn't fall to me only. This needs to be something that the city should be doing, and I don't know why nothing has been done. I don't know if it was relayed to the police department and it wasn't brought back here. I don't know who's in charge of this and why nothing has been done about this yet. And if there's an answer as to when it may be done, I would really appreciate that too, because I might even help if somebody gets a dropped off dumpster. But Then, my other issue is with the parking, where we can no longer park our trailers and whatnot on the streets after today. If you go up to the corner of Rodeo and Frontier, he has parked his trailers and every other vehicle on the street, and he's absolutely destroyed that street. I mean, it's ground down to where there's almost no asphalt up there, and it's just ridiculous. He has since moved his fifth wheel across the street onto, I don't know if it's city property or county property. And when we called and asked if we could do that too, we were told no, and it's like, well, how come he gets to? And you go, well, we'll talk to him. And again, nothing's being done. So I don't know what we need to do to get these laws and ordinances, enforced and taken care of, because this has been going on in my neighborhood for a while. And I can think of 5 houses directly in my neighborhood between Cascade, Frontier, and Highland, where houses are abandoned or they're just not taking care of the property, and they got grass and weeds that are knee-high. And I'm struggling to keep the weeds out of my yard. I don't have much of a yard, but I'm tired of pulling weeds. That's my issue. Thank you.
Does any of the council have any questions for Jennifer?
No, but you sure hit some good points, and we understand that that's the problem. And Governor, what can we do about that junkyard that people are using that abandoned property for? Is there anything that we can, I mean, it's private property, can we do something?
I guess I'm not entirely sure where this is or what is being placed on the property, so it's trash.
It's trash. There's a grill out there, there's those old kitchen chairs, there's a broken down hot tub. Like I said, there's a bunch of propane tanks, just boxes of Rubbermaid stuff and other boxes and pallets. Don, you've seen it. Yeah, it's.
Like you said, it's been abandoned for several months, and the previous person that lived there,
I believe it was foreclosed on, so you might even be able to find out what bank owns it and go back on the bank.
when we was walking the dogs in the neighborhood Saturday, there was a guy there, I think it was probably after the bankruptcy, when it went on the market for that auction. It sounded like he was from out of town, and he talking to someone that they were at the house, and obviously.
I know, but they still have keys to the house, because they keep going in and out of the house. I even called the police department, and I believe it was on July 30th, because that was my birthday, that's the only reason I remembered it. Because there was a car parked there, they used to park there, and they were sleeping in their car.
Yeah.
And I said, there's somebody there now.
Yeah.
And nobody showed up.
Was on the street, ended up having tagged by the police department, and ended up with all the tires taken off of it on blocks. And it ended up, a few days later, it disappeared. Had a couple of donuts put on it later, but then it disappeared. But it's just been like I said, it's over the several years, that tenant's been in there, and he just finally just lost the house.
And do we know if the tenant is a renter for sure, or is he the owner?
He was the owner.
Yeah.
He bought it, when I moved in 8 years ago, it was owned by, I don't remember their names, the last name was Bell, and it was my understanding that they sold it to a cousin. I don't know which cousin on whose side, but it was a cousin, and I know he moved out to mine for a while. And then things started getting ugly and crap started showing up, and next thing you know, they're moving out and they're piling all this crap in the backyard. And
Well, if we know who's doing the foreclosure on it, I assume that they probably, I don't know why they wouldn't have already, but there is a accumulation of junk ordinance that we have.
Yep, section 13,
And then
chapter
also,
13, section
obviously,
13.
the nuisance ordinance, I mean, both would apply. I guess the only issue would be is finding out who it is who owns it. And Chief, do you have any knowledge on that?
Yeah, so we ran into this issue several times with multiple properties in your neighborhood. One of two things, either foreclose on, which is what you're talking about here, or the person lives out of town or out of state in one instance. We were working on drafting up a letter to send to them, see if that did any good, because obviously serving them any sort of legal charging document where the person owns the property, we can charge them. When you're dealing with a financial institution, it's who do you serve? Who do you serve the
Bank
charges to?
president?
Yeah. That question has come into play several times. So, and some of it is, we got started on it, but didn't finish it, to be fully honest with you. Just, we have so much going on, and I'm spread so thin, and then.
Well, I know, just to mind everybody along, it's.
Just trying to
We need the
help,
whole police department to move in and.
I'm trying to help the community service officer through these issues, but I've just been spread so thin lately, I haven't been able to attend to her much. But yeah, we do have a letter drafted, we were going to send that to them, but the other issue is everything takes so much time to get through this process. And I need to meet with Dublin honestly and see what our recourse may be, because we do have a lot of those issues. We went through that neighborhood one day and identified 5 different residences that we were gonna start with.
Yeah.
And that's where we started, because we were forgiving the stuff that wasn't too egregious. But we need to get the process.
Can we stick the
Refine.
city attorney on that, or do we have a city attorney?
That guy that's talking to you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you wanna make it his problem, that'd be great.
Well, it seems like it's kind of stopped and you're kind of at a loss on where to go. I would think the next thing would be for the
Yeah.
city attorney to file suit against the mortgage company that owns it.
I don't-
And
I don't
foreclose
think
upon that.
As much
Property.
a loss of where to go as to get the appropriate things in place to take care of these issues, especially on those folks that don't live here. And we're running into that on a fairly regular basis, it seems like. There's another lot that's not too far from where you're at there that is overgrown and.
Oh, yeah, just almost right next to it.
So it almost seems like we need some kind of protection in the form of an ordinance to deal with, because this seems to be a common theme, right? And we have a CSO now, right? So you've got busy working.
She's doing some of the stuff. We're not completed with training yet because everything else is continually getting in the way, so. So that's just a.
I mean, like, I've lived in a lot of different places in my life, and I've even worked with some guys that worked for mortgage companies that would go in and clean out, like, the buildings when something was foreclosed on, right? And then, I mean, then they'd always tell me really wonderful stories about all the cool stuff that they found.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I can tell you some of the stuff I've taken out there. I found a cooler filled with rotten food and, I still use their dumpster and the city still picks it up, so I'm putting their trash in their dumpster that.
Yeah,
I know that I was trespassing on private property in a public meeting there, but we appreciate things.
Just trying to keep, we got kids running up and down that alley all the time, and, you know, they don't need to be getting in there and getting into something that can hurt them or whatever, so.
No, thank you for coming and making us aware of the situation. We should definitely, get on top of getting that letter written and trying to get somebody to move forward from the mortgage company.
And as far as the ordinance, Mr. Mayor, I apologize if I cut you off. The ordinance is there. We just need to find a way to get whomever is appropriate served with that documentation.
Can we either do it in the meantime and then find the mortgage
Whoever
company?
owns the property.
Well, the mortgage company is currently the owner, so I think we're good there.
Yeah, is there a way we can
Yeah,
get cleaned up?
can we get it cleaned up now and then find them, send them to do
Deal
it?
with that?
That's the part of the ordinance that's not there.
Okay.
Maybe Greg can expound on that, but that is one thing that I've talked to the council about before, is when we get no compliance, which happens,
Yeah. 'Cause it-
what do we do? 'Cause we're not gonna pay to house somebody.
Yeah, because it says that your first violation is a $50 fine, it's like, okay.
That's kind of the.
It's kind of pointless, yeah.
All the time, so.
And then on your second point, the trailer ordinance has
Yes.
been, difficult since we got it passed when I was still.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
So, I mean,
I understand moving the trailers off the street, I get that, it's just, and I see trailers throughout the community, my neighborhood, that they don't bother to move them, they're parked there all the time. Donna can attest to that too, I'm sure. But, and you know who I'm talking about on the corner of Frontier and Rodeo. That place is an absolute sty.
I've seen it myself then. So, it looks like it's probably, we just need to enforce the trailer ordinance. So,
Yeah, because I think there's, I was reading, and I don't understand some of the legalese, but it sounds to me like if I was reading it right, he's responsible for repairing that gutter and whatnot that he's created, where he's destroyed all that gutter and sidewalk up there, that he could be liable for that, so if I read that right, you can make him pay to fix it.
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.
well, we appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
And Deb, you said he's parked,
He's parked right across the street. Is that city property or government? Or, that's city, yeah, so he just moved it directly across the rodeo into that pasture.
and we've had to chase him out of there several times. So, Chief and I have not gotten together again.
What if you towed it off there, put it in the impound point?
Yeah, let's do
I'll
that.
let the chief make that comment.
Illegal parking. I'm sorry.
So then, you have any, what's that,
There's some mechanic work there too, and you'll see the,
Yeah, he's got a mobile mechanic service.
I remember when we were drafting the ordinance, he was one of our biggest opponents to
Yeah.
the ordinance. So, well, again, thank you. Does anybody have anything further?
Thanks for hearing me out, I appreciate it.
And we can get basically a letter drafted up. The thing, all you really need to do is, especially with a company like that, they're going to have an interest in actually abiding by the city ordinances, and they probably, the way that some of those companies work is that it moves slowly as the message moves up through the company itself.
Correct.
So someone who sees basically a cesspool on that property says, hey, management, we kind of have an issue here. We haven't gotten any sort of notice of anything yet, but we probably will be.
It is up for auction. If you go into Zillow, you can see it's up for auction. So I would think that they would want to keep the property somewhat kept up so that they could get a better price for it. Just my thinking. Because if anybody drives by, I certainly wouldn't want to bid on it.
Well, I mean, if push comes to shove, you can always just go to the county clerk's office and look for the chain of title and send whoever it is the letter. So, I think that should be relatively easy, so.
I'm looking at it right now, and the mortgage company is listed as the owner. I must have just updated this information recently.
Who is the mortgage
On the
company?
assessors, Manor Home Mortgage Company, LLC.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll go ahead and move on to citizens' business in writing, which there is none. Then on to old business. Item number 1, American Legal Publishing and Civic Plus Muni Code. So we've been talking about this for a while, council. I did reach out to American Legal Publishing, and I talked with Ross Hupel, and we actually had a really nice conversation, and he was a bit appalled at the volume of ordinance books that we're asking for. He said that typically the largest order that he's asked for is 10 copies. So, you know, if we're asking for 25 copies, that's more geared towards places like Los Angeles and places that are, you know, massively larger than us. So he gave me another quote. He didn't go for the full 25 copies that I asked him for. He gave me an updated quote for 10 books, but he kept the cost at $7,190, which was the initial quote that he had given the council. And then in my travels, I was down in Cheyenne and I was speaking with some folks from the DEQ, and one of them was like an ex-town administrator, and he asked why we were willing to spend the amount of money, like for the quotes, right? Like we got the first quote from American Legal, which is now 10 copies of the ordinance book, hosting our platform online, and then actually going through 300 pages worth, but we're trying to figure out if we have exactly 300 pages in the ordinance book. Stacy was looking at around 220 to 250, so that might knock the price down a little bit because they charge per page. But anyway, the DEQ person that I talked to said, hey, Tyrell, you know, I'm kind of cheap, but if you guys just got one master copy and then you took it to a print shop and then had the print shop print it for you and then gave the copies to as many people as you wanted, it would probably drive the cost down. So this is starting to turn into a bigger decision that's going to require more discussion that I think we need to do tonight in the council meeting. So can somebody hand me a copy of the, I don't have a copy of the standing committees.
Oh.
Thanks, Steve. Oh, that's okay. I don't know where this would fit, council, so if you could please help me. I don't really see a good fit here. Can the council throw me a bone here? We find that
Personnel finance.
personnel and finance, you think? Yeah. Finance.
Thanks a lot.
We're making a decision.
For board committee,
That's kind of what I was thinking, board committee, or land committee.
Too bad we don't have a tree committee because it's made out of paper.
So
That works.
I think I had mentioned that maybe I wanted the finance committee to look at this like a meeting or two ago. So let's just call another finance committee meeting and then you guys kind of hash out what you think would be appropriate for driving the cost down on the ordinance book revision. So if the finance committee could work together to pin down the time.
We will, sir.
I think that the reason we were quoted the 25 copies is we tried to make sure to furnish a copy for all of our police officers. There was a couple running around at the shop when I worked at the city shop, and then the clerks had one. And then all of us council folks have one at our disposal up here at the dais. So, but anyway, please just keep up.
John just brought up something. What about copyright rights?
Copyrights? Is
We
there?
like to copy
If you have the
things.
guy publish it, can you have copies made of it?
he gives you permission.
So that's a good point too. I mean, but our municipal code is also public property, so I don't know how they could copyright our municipal code.
Is it copyrighted?
Well, most authors author their book, but the publisher owns exactly what happens to that book, not the author.
Yeah.
Well, now this starts to sound like maybe something that Dublin might have to do. So is it legally permissible, Mr. Hughes, for us to,
We should just,
make copies of our own ordinance book?
I mean, I don't see why we couldn't, it's our own drafting of it, but just to be safe, I can look into that.
who's gonna tell us?
I was gonna say, as long as you're not profiting from it, I don't know what the problem would be.
Yeah.
We do it all the time through the American Legion, as long as we're, yeah, we copy some of their brochures and stuff, but as long as we're not profiting, we're just handing them out.
Thank you. Look at it, she comes to a council meeting and gets some good feedback, so, anyway, I look forward to hearing what the finance committee has for us at the next council meeting. Does anybody have anything further on American Legal Publishing and Civic Plus Muni Code?
For what it's worth, Mr. Mayor, my officers don't seem to care to have anything printed out in front of them. They like everything digital.
They like digital,
Yeah.
which they would be provided with the digital copy.
So I don't think we need to print out one for each of the officers. Don't think that'd be necessary if that helps him.
No,
That
appreciate it.
does help,
Chief.
thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing further, we'll move on to new business. Item number 1, Weston County Emergency Operations Plan and Resolution number 6, Series 2025. I'll go ahead and read resolution number 6, series 2025.
God, you didn't say it.
And then we can discuss further. Adoption of Weston County Emergency Operations Plan, whereas the Weston County Homeland Security Coordinator, Mr. Gilbert Nelson, requested the City of Newcastle adopt the Weston County Emergency Operations Plan. And whereas the City of Newcastle has reviewed and had opportunity to provide input into the plans, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Newcastle to approve and adopt the Weston County Emergency Operations Plan, passed and approved and adopted this 15th day of September 2025. Does the council entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 6, series 2025?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
This isn't a new plan for anybody that's probably new here. This is a plan that gets reviewed periodically and then gets submitted back out for, not only the city council to approve, the county to approve, all these agencies. So there's been many other agencies, throughout the county that's reviewed this plan and had input.
Is there any further discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. We adopted the Weston County Emergency Operations Plan. Moving on to committee and council member reports. Item number 1, Economic Development Committee. So, as everybody knows, we formed an Economic Development Committee at the last council meeting, and its members are myself, John Butts, and Councilman Tom Boss. We met on Friday at 3 p.m. Here in the council chambers, and we went over the RCAC plan to move forward with the project with the city of Newcastle. So we were introduced to all the team that's going to be working with the city. Right now, we're in the beginning phase of starting the plan. So right now, all they're really doing, because it started, the HUD grant started April 14th of 2025, and it ends April 14th of 2029. So they went over that basic agenda for like the kickoff meeting to start. So they went over some of the phases of the project, and right now they're in the beginning phase where they're just contacting communities and making sure that they want to continue with the project, and that they're just making the initial contact to start getting all of the things in place so they can move forward with the project. So they're still contacting communities similar to ours. So actually we're going to be a cohort member, and there's 3 of them. And then the next phase of the project is we're going to need to work on hiring the community coordinator. And then they said what makes and breaks these projects is local level involvement. So the more people that through this process we get involved and we get excited about this, the better chance that we're going to have a successful time with it. So, and then, you know, over the course of the next 3 years, they're going to do the ROC, Recharge Our Communities Workshop series. And that's going to be a series of workshops that takes place over 4 months, once a year. And everyone meets in training to get to know each other, and better so like the cohort member is going to send our community coordinator to some out-of-state trainings possibly during the course of this project. And then there was a couple of questions that came up that were similar to some of the things that were covered when we were meeting with the Wyoming Business Council. You know, like what do we do about brain drain? We have all these kids in our community that you know, get up through high school and go on to their continuing education, and then they move away.
This place is full of love. You can tell the people that like to be with old people because they really take care of you good and are very kind.
Twice a day, every day, the activities people have an organized activity that's always interesting.
Everybody loves to play bingo. We play it 3 times a week here. We also have ceramics that you can paint. Really pleasant to live here. It's a good place to be.
We have all these kids in our community that you know, get up through high school and go on to their continuing education, and then they move away to seek other opportunities, and sometimes they even leave Wyoming. So that was one of the concerns that was voiced by some of the board members. And then I get a little long-winded sometimes, so John and Tom, did you guys have anything that you'd like to add?
Not a chance after that, no.
No?
That was a complete and thorough report of that meeting.
Okay. And,
Except for the training.
yeah.
There'll be a lot of training going on.
For the whole community, yeah.
Yeah, so the Recharge Our Communities workshops are geared towards the public, business owners, and just regular citizens that are possibly interested, in entrepreneurship or starting a business. So, anyway, I'm really excited to see how things progress, and myself and the Economic Development Board or committee will continue to update council on activities, and I'll share emails just for informational purposes. So I'll fire those out to the entire council so you can see what's going on when Amity makes contact with us. Is there any questions?
So when you say that what makes or breaks this is community involvement, do they give any suggestions on how to get the community involved?
They got a whole plan for that and they've got people designed in that little committee that we saw on the TV to do things just like that, to help us do that and get people involved. So I was very pleased to hear that.
Because that'd be one of my biggest concerns, is getting those people to step up and get involved.
It's a challenge sometimes, isn't it? So, like I said, as it moves forward, we'll keep the council apprised, and then hopefully that the results are tangible and you guys will be able to see things change as we move forward. Any further questions? Okay, moving on to item number 2, Finance and Personnel Committee.
There's 2 seats.
Okay, so the Finance Committee met again, actually tonight to review some additional information based on what the interest rates were given to us from the First Northern Bank. We wanted to know comparison of Pinnacle Bank with some money that we have in their system and returns on what we're currently getting. Once we kind of reviewed the monthly returns for CDs based on both entities, they were fairly close, but we were getting a higher return rate from First Northern. And we kind of came to the decision that we would recommend that we would move the $900,000 that we have in one account from the Pinnacle Bank to First Northern Bank for an 18-month CD at 3.5%. This would probably end up producing probably around, what we figure, roughly close to $44,000-$45,000 in that 18 months. And right now, we would only getting 1% on that account, which then, obviously we're going to increase this one threefold. So our recommendation would be to move this into an 18-month CD in preparation of some of the projects that we have. And then once these come due, whether we look at them maybe another 6-month extension as these projects get close to fruition and bidding process.
We entertain a motion to move the money from Pinnacle Bank to First Northern Bank and do a CD for 18 months at a 3.5% rate.
So move.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Yes, I have several questions. The only reason I made the motion is so we can talk about this. Now, first of all, did anybody talk with Justin about that 1%? Can he pick it up?
He did kick that up. As soon as Stacy did talk to him, they went to a 2%.
Oh, all the way, okay. And now, is there any way that we can, instead of going with 18 months, can we just keep going back and forth between those two?
The issue, we kind of looked at that too, talking with with the bank people. Obviously, the interest rates are not a guarantee. They're looking at the interest rates possibly going down in the next potentially 6 months, so we take that gamble. And when we were reviewing this, we felt that 18-month was probably that middle ground, where you're getting a higher interest rate, but we're not locked into, a 3-year, 4-year piece and potentially maybe get putting us into these 2 or 5 months, which we're getting closer to some of the projects and making that bigger interest potential.
I see.
When it gets closer gap.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, one of the projects we were looking at was the Rodeo Sheridan Street project. And the street portion of this, 18 months would put us about 6 months past or short of our intended construction time period for that project. We intend on putting in for funding in 27 and construction in 28. So the intent is to take the money that we're moving over and use that money for that particular project. So we're actually starting to earmark funds for different projects.
And which then during this time, $44,000 or $45,000 in interest that we're not gonna gain that, getting a 1 or 2% interest.
So, council, I would also remind you that we had discussed WAIF too. So WAIF, Joan Evans contacted me this morning to see if there was any follow-up, because we haven't spoken to her since we began this process. They could provide, with the last updated numbers, almost a full percentage point better for their long-term loans, so that we could lock in if we adopted the resolution to move forward with WIGIF investment. And one of the things that we were kind of hung up on is, First Northern came and appealed to us because they didn't want us to take money away from their bank, right? But Pinnacle didn't come to us and ask us anything, and so we were thinking about moving, it sounds like it's the committee's will right now, to move forward with a 3.5% investment on 18 months. But if we work with WIGIF, we're already moving it from Pinnacle. So First Northern isn't out anything, and this is business. So we could potentially make more money if we went with adopting the resolution and working with WIGIF. So I just want the council to be cognizant of that. We could potentially, make a percentage better interest on similar time frame.
And the committee did discuss that. I think our biggest deal is keeping our money local. Mm-hmm. And then obviously the banks that have worked with us in the First Northern have been one of them that's worked with us on several of our leases that we've done with equipment, which a lot of the other locations haven't given us that opportunity. I think our committee felt that working local was probably one of our priority pieces of it. Obviously, we're trying to get the best interest rate and work for the people's money. Because we're trying to look at this as a business also. Obviously, there's another percentage there that we can take advantage of. But which one outweighed that piece of that, try to stay.
So the committee's will is that percentage point isn't worth taking the money out of the community.
Yeah.
So you would like to continue to move forward with investing it in the community.
Yeah. We felt more strong of keeping things local, where the banks actually are working with us on different projects, loans that we've went for and asked for and have gotten, that we probably wouldn't have got otherwise.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
that company you're talking about, are they FDIC insured? The bank would be. They guarantee our money in case we go to war or something, that the banks could collapse across the nation or whatever, they'd still be
Insured, and then they insure our investment.
To a point. I don't think the whole ball of wax is insured.
300,000, I think. Used to be, it might be higher now.
So all I remember from the presentation that we were all provided when Joan Evans came in was that they meet all of our statute requirements for the state, and they're meet the GASB 79 rules, which if you ask me what the GASB 79 rules are, I couldn't answer you off the cuff right now, but she made it sound like it was a very safe investment, and there's a lot of people that are involved. They have $1.3 billion from communities in the state of Wyoming that they have invested currently. So, and then they have 81 or 83 billion dollars that they have from other states across the United States. You know, so I can't answer that 100%. We were all given the same information, so I don't know if it's the committee's made their recommendation to stay local. So if there's no further discussion, then we'll go ahead and move forward with the vote. Okay, all in favor? Is there still some discussion? No? Well, I heard some going on. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Okay, thank you, committee. Moving on to item number 3 for committee council member reports, the water and sewer committee. Go ahead.
Me again? So the water sewer committee met to discuss the updated changes to chapter 26, which there was many changes within that document. As of that meeting, there was still some revisions yet to go through, and then get to double into the review if there was any other additional things that happened before we put out for that revision for final completion. But there was quite a few additions, red lines within that chapter 26. I don't know if you've had a chance to even see that piece yet.
I have seen the initial draft, and then I knew that you guys have been working on more revisions, so obviously I kind of halted on looking at them. But yeah, whenever it's done, I'll take a look at it and kind of give everybody my thoughts, and we can work on that.
Okay. And the second one was a tank 2 project. Greg presented the project plan, the funding plan moving forward. Currently, we have applied for the WDO funding combined with the SRF loan. If anybody's aware of what's being planned for that tank, Greg can give you an update of what the most updated plan is.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, currently, we plan to do this project in 2027. We pushed it back a year due to the landfill water remediation project being pushed back 1 year. Initially, we're going to do it in 26, we're going to do it in 27. The plan is to replace the existing water main, moving it to a more conducive location, and separating the water inlet and outlet to force more exchange in the tank. One of the problems we have is back deposits coming from the leak. This is one way to address that issue. Control station is in the middle of the drainage that we need for our overflow, so we have to move the control station as well. We're looking just over a $2 million project. 50% funding is what we applied for from WWDO, and then 50% will come from SRF funds.
This included the plan for sandblasting. The discussion was if we wanted to keep the Adobe logo on the tank, and I think it was pretty much unanimous with the committee that we wanted to keep that logo up there as it was.
Actually, it was in the original plans in 1981, so I already got a plan.
Next one on the list was the water asset management plan, capital improvements plan. Basically, it was presented to us the first draft and water asset management plan and capital improvement plan that keeps moving forward, so. And then also the projects for 10-year plan, so, report on CIP includes the 20-year worth of projects. So I think this one's one that I'm most interested in, because we've always wanted to try to have a 5-year, 10-year plan. You know, what does our future look like for spending projects? And we hear projects like the Rodeo Street, Sheridan Street, you know, how much that can keep down the road. Hopefully now we're trying to find some dates that we're putting into place that those are gonna get done.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, there was one more item we discussed. We started working on risk and resilience assessments. They're due October 2026. So we started going through some of the stuff. One thing that we identified that I would like to move forward with at some point is WyoWarn. It's a mutual aid agreement system for water and wastewater systems. It helps out in major disasters. We can assist other communities will assist us if we have issues. It's a really neat program. It doesn't cost anything to be a member. So I'll have more information on that for the full council next week.
Thank you.
Anything else that I might have missed with the other committee members?
I have something that I'd like to add really quick. Maybe since we spent all that time reviewing chapter 26, that we could knock that page count off of our quote for American Television and Civics Plus Muni Code. I mean,
Mr. Mayor, if I may, there's several of the ordinances that there's going to be local revisions that need to be made involved with the revisions. I started on the streets section 2 as well. So I do have a partial draft of that one already, but it may not hurt to
have them go through that anyway.
Go through them locally, add in the things that are necessary, we feel necessary as a necessity to the community itself. And then they can look at the rest of it after we're done. That would be my recommendation moving forward, but it's the pleasure of the council.
Oh, that's good information. Yep. Thanks, Craig. Sorry, I kind of butted in. Did you have something?
No, I just, the work that Greg's put into that 5-year, 10-year plan, he's done phenomenal work, and looking forward for the next several years. I'm excited to see how these projects go. And hopefully the community sees the effort and the work that's gone into this, and we start seeing results.
And another thing is that Greg and his plan makes us look so good when we apply for loans, and it makes us look like we're a responsible city doing our job, and that it's wonderful.
Yep. Good job, Craig. All right. Is that all that we have for Water Sewer Committee?
Yep, that's all I have.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to department head reports. Item number 1, Police Chief Derek Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item are the calls for service between September 2nd and today. Newcastle Police Department 132. We made 4 custodial arrests. Weston County Sheriff's Office 95. Upton Police Department 37. Newcastle Volunteer Fire Department 10. Weston County Fire Protection District 5. Upton Volunteer Fire Department 3. Newcastle Ambulance 28. 17 here. 17 of those calls were here in Newcastle. 5 were transfers from the hospital. Weston County had 7 ambulance calls. Upton had 1. Osage had 2, and they responded to 1 in Custer County. Upton ambulance had 6. A second item, we received 3 bids for the 2025 Dodge Durango patrol vehicle. They're listed here on your report. John Jones Police Pursuit Vehicles submitted a bid for a V8 model Durango for $66,279.50. Fremont Motor Company submitted 2 different bids. One was for the V8, 2025 Durango V8 for $60,311.95. The other one was for a V6 model, which is $57,000 or $57,393.95. And Sheridan Motor Company submitted 2 bids as well. For the V8 was $59,472 even, and for the V6 was $56,654 even. All vehicles appear to be comparably equipped. I did have to call and get some clarification on some of the equipment. I thought the 2 Wyoming companies were missing portions of the equipment, but I just didn't understand their language, so it's all there. I would recommend the bid is awarded to the Sheridan Motor Company, as all vehicles are the same. It's a Wyoming company, and they beat John Jones' bid by approximately $10,000 if we go with the V6 model, which I would prefer.
Does the council entertain a motion to move forward with the bid for Sheridan Motors for the V6 model Dodge Durango for $56,654?
I move we do that. The Sheridan Motor Company gets the bid for a V6 Dodge Durango for $56,654.
Second. We have a motion properly seconded on the floor. Is there any discussion?
In the bid process, did the bid, ask for a V8 or V6, because they bid 2 different ones?
They did. Chuck Bartlett helped me with this, and he thought that would be the best course of action.
Okay.
And John Jones didn't have any more 2025 V6s left. The 2 Wyoming companies didn't seem to think it'd be a problem. So.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure, I guess, if they were all just bidding on a V8 and then a couple of them threw in variants of the V6.
Yeah, they, it was listed right in there, so the 2 Wyoming companies put in a bid for each.
Okay.
Chief, when we send a car to Casper and get it fitted to be a police vehicle, what does that cost us to do that?
I can tell you, we'll give you a pretty close ballpark anyways. If anybody would like to see the actual bid, it's broken down here. So the upfitting, they both use Ameritech Equipment Company out of Casper. And so I'm assuming they just copied the bid and sent it to the other dealership. But the upfitting is $16,506.95.
Thank you.
Is there any further questions? Any further questions? Was there a reason that you decided that the V6 model was the way to go, Chief?
Yeah, a couple reasons. We obviously are mostly policing within the city. We don't really need to go 150 miles an hour. And I feel like the Hemis just come with more problems. That's what the V8s are, Hemis, and they seem to have more issues. That I think it's a Pentastar V6 has been around forever and ever, and it seems to be hold up a little bit better, especially with the extended idle times and things like that. It just doesn't seem to be as frequent that camshafts and stuff like that go out of them. So, and then we had a couple V8 Chargers that we've recently gotten rid of because they went bad and they didn't have a ton of miles on them. So. I'm hoping they'll hold it better.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, the V8s are a real problem in Ames. The mechanic looked at them, he's had one of them at the Dodge dealership, and both engines, they said, you know, replacement at, I don't know, 125,000 miles. We replaced 2 other Hemi engines in Dodge pickups, we got another one starting to make noise, so the V8s are a definite problem.
For one thing, they have 2 spark plugs per cylinder, 2 coils per cylinder. So we know to do a tune-up.
They claim that issue has been fixed, but I guess until I see the proof, I'll go to V6.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, council. My third item, I would like to request a 50-cent per hour raise for Carrie Peterson, my administrative assistant, for completing the NIBRS certification training. I don't know if anybody in here is familiar with what NIBRS is, but it's the National Incident-Based Reporting System. It's a report we have to submit every month to the FBI for the local crime statistics. That may seem simple, but the process is actually rather convoluted, and that's an additional task she has to do, and she has recently been certified to do that.
So with that, Chief, when would you like that raise to take effect?
Should have looked. If we could just do it effective today, that would probably be sufficient.
Effective the 15th of September? Okay. Would the council entertain a motion to provide Carrie Peterson with a 50 cents per hour raise for completing the NIBRS certification training effective the 15th of September 2025?
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Tell Carrie congratulations on getting her certification.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Carrie got her raise.
Thank you, council. And the last item I have is a resolution to apply for a grant to replace the community service officer vehicle. That vehicle is quite outdated. Greg and Sean here, our mechanic, would like nothing more than to see that vehicle replaced. There are also some issues with it, one of them being, for whatever reason, that's about 6 feet off the ground at the tailgate, and our community service officer can barely look over the edge of the tailgate. So, and the other issue is it doesn't have electronic locks on it, making it rather difficult to maintain safety and security when she's out and about. And frankly, I'm not overly familiar with this resolution process, but
Mr. Mayor, if I may, after the department heads met, we talked about different projects, things like that, with Ms. Blackwell. We Public Works plans on putting in an application for emerging funds in February. We recommended the chief put in for this round for this vehicle through the Manor grant program. So that's what we're applying for the MRG.
thank you.
So, Resolution 7, Series 2025, the City of Newcastle, for the purpose of purchasing a new vehicle for the city community service officer who is an essential member of the police department. Witnesseth, whereas the governing body for the City of Newcastle desires to participate in the Federal Mineral Royalty Capital Construction Account Grant Program to assist in financing this project, and whereas the governing body of the city of Newcastle recognizes the need for the project, and whereas the Federal Mineral Royalty Capital Construction Account Grant Program requires that certain criteria be met, as described in the State Loan and Investment Board's rules and regulations governing the program. And to the best of our knowledge, this application meets those criteria. And whereas the governing body of the city of Newcastle plans to match the requested Federal Mineral Royalty Capital Construction Account Grant from the following sources: City of Newcastle General Fund in the amount of $30,000. The passage of this resolution is the documented approval of these matching fund by the City Council. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the governing body of the City of Newcastle that a grant application in the amount of $30,000 be submitted to the State Loan and Investment Board for consideration at the February 5th, 2026 SLIB meeting to assist in funding the community safety project. Be it further resolved that Police Chief Derek Thompson, Kerry Peterson, Stacy Haggerty, and Beth Blackwell are hereby designated as authorized representatives of the City of Newcastle to act on behalf of the governing body on all matters relating to this grant application. Passed and approved this 15th day of September 2025. Do we have a motion to approve resolution number 7, series 2025?
I move.
Second.
Approve resolution number 7, 2025.
We have a motion on the floor, properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
Well, we're saying we're having plans to match the grant through their general fund of $30,000. We're putting in a grant for $30,000, so that means that's gonna be $60,000 vehicle.
That's just a rough estimation based on what we're paying for vehicles of that nature. Obviously, it will not have all the equipment that the normal patrol vehicles have, but it will have some other equipment they don't have.
The new store. This is the one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy. We have a bootlegger's liquor. The deli, the food that you can get at a lunchtime is so amazing. The coffee shop. Certain Friday mornings, there's 30 people sitting here in all these chairs. This is the hub for people to come and visit, have their coffee, have their donuts. It's amazing what this area has done. Totally amazing.
Obviously, it will not have all the equipment that the normal patrol vehicles have, but it will have some other equipment they don't have. I have a request into actually Shared Motors, the ones we just awarded the bid to see if they can give me a little bit more finite number on that. That's the estimation we have.
Mr. Mayor, the grant application is due the end of this month. So even if we have to end up turning some of the money back, it's better to have a little more, not enough. And it is a 50-50 grant.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
Yeah, that old truck is pretty rough.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, one kind of
Did you look at
like
sledgehammer test?
it. Unique.
It's unique. That's a nice way of putting it. And that is all I have. Thank you, Council.
Thanks, Chief. Does anybody have anything further for Chief Derek Thompson?
I had one question that might not be for him, but in that fund that they just mentioned in here, it says it's called themselves the Royal Capital Construction Account. And can we get construction money from those people? Like if we wanted to build a new city shop? Would they fund something like that?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, capital construction, actually, Blackwell was the one that designed it and operated it and managed it. We can use that for several things, fire trucks, police cars, ambulances, we can use it for buildings, we can use it for roads.
Buildings, okay.
So there's several different things we can use that for. The biggest need we found was the chief's vehicle right now for this one. Like I said, Public Works plans on putting in a grant application in February meeting, for the February meeting. For a portion of the Rodeo Sheridan Street project, street portion of it, so.
Any further questions for Chief Eric Thompson? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 2, Attorney Devlin Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I only have one thing, and it's actually in regard to, kind of bleeds into what we were discussing earlier. The junk ordinance, as it stands right now, and I know I've apprised the council of this before, but I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. Cities in their powers under their statute are able to basically adopt ordinances to abate nuisances, and nuisances, can come in a myriad of forms. One of them being junk vehicles, and also, the accumulation of trash, junk, etc. I've been looking at a few different jurisdictions and other cities, basically, just to kind of see what sort of language, basically, that we could plagiarize to some extent. I know that Dad has drafted basically an entire chapter for the city of Sundance for the exact purpose, and the reason that you have that is basically to allow the city to send a letter to any person who's in violation of that within the city jurisdiction, tell them that they have a certain amount of time to take it, clean it up, and then if they don't, then the city ends up cleaning it up for them and then sends them the bill for whatever the cost of that is. One of the things that I'm kind of running into, and I think this is just more of a logistics thing that I need to figure out, is who is going to be doing the cleaning and where we're going to be impounding vehicles if they are junk vehicles. So I wanted to discuss that. Just generally, it's probably more of a question for Chief and Public Works Supervisor Greg Stumpf, but there's no doubt that we could move forward with this, and I could, there's a few language portions of it that I kind of want to address, but I guess in a hypothetical situation, let's say that we send out 3 or 4 different letters to somebody for a junk vehicle in the front of their yard. They're just putting a junk vehicle right in the middle of their yard. Where is that going to be put during the time that, one, we don't own said vehicle, because it's still the property of the owner? And are we going to be able to at least protect those pieces of property during that time period? I guess that's my kind of question.
Do our local towing companies have any impound lots? Because they would be obviously the ones that would be towing the vehicle.
Yeah, and you could in theory have them do that. The thing I wonder about is how willing they are going to be to come on to someone else's property.
Mr. Mayor, if I may address part of this. The other problem with having local towing companies store it, they're going to charge a fee to store it. Now, who's going to pay the fee? We could develop a section of the landfill number 1, closer down or away from the landfill. We could actually have an area set aside. We have to build the fencing and get security system and stuff like that in place. But we could potentially store ourselves in that area. To address cleaning up the property, Chief Thompson and I have spoken about this 3 times. We used to do this 27, 28 years ago. We quit. We actually had 1 employee, had 2 part-time or 2 seasonals, and that's all they did all summer long, was clean up people's properties and send them bills when they didn't do it. Essentially, the chief has to direct me to go take care of it. The chief and I have discussed if we can get 2 weeks, 3 weeks notice of when they want it cleaned up, then yes, we can go in and do it under the chief's direction. We do not have the ability to haul junk cars. And I'm not taking that responsibility at all. We could pay a tow operator to put it in our storage facility or whatever. I'm in support of doing it. It's just a matter of how legally the chief and the attorney need to handle it prior to my involvement with it. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Wasn't it mentioned earlier that there are companies that go in and will clean, and then that bill goes on to whoever is responsible for the property? We have a gentleman here in town that goes around, and if you call him, he'll come and pick up your junk that you want to get cleaned off your property for a fee, and then he kind of recycles some of it and does whatever, and kind of makes money that way, but on the larger scale of things, I don't know how that would work, but.
Mr. Ray, if I may address that, the chief and I discussed that and the liabilities behind going on somebody else's property under direction of the city. The ordinance is very clear that the chief directs the public works to go take care of it. So.
And just to clarify, the way that it would be drafted would actually be that anybody from city administration could send the violator, the owner of the property that's violating the ordinance, so just basically a letter in a certain amount of time. One of the things with this is you can get actually, and I have always looked through this many times trying to figure out how this isn't illegal, but there are certain jurisdictions within Wyoming specifically that have actually torn down certain structures owned by other people for violating these sort of things. So they have a house that someone hasn't been living in and they just literally cannot, they won't come clean it, they won't fix it up, they won't tear it down. So somebody literally came in on the owner's dime after they were given notice and tore down the building that was on it because it was so dilapidated. Now, do I think we should get to that point? Probably not, but the vehicle portion of it is kind of the big kicker because, I mean, generally people who have a junk vehicle in their front yard intend to do something with it at some point.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, removing the building would be easier for us than removing the car. I'm all for removing the building.
There's a couple buildings that need to be knocked down.
There's way more than a couple.
Yes.
So our neighbor in town of Upton, their public works director has done a lot with this, and when I was on the council a few years ago, I discussed it with him because, this is a concern of a lot of people in town is we have a lot of dilapidated properties and taking care of them, is on some people's priority list. So I think it's something that we should do further research on for sure. You would hope that it wouldn't get to the point where people wouldn't take care of the problem. But unfortunately, being that we have a lot of structures in town that have just been left to rot, they do let it get that. And then people don't live here and they have properties here.
And it would be a nice lot for someone else to build a house on or whatever.
So, Mr. Mayor, I don't have the information with me. I've actually done some research on this, and I know there's some stuff at the state level on just this, that like a house, you have a house that's abandoned, you go in and tear that down or whatever. There's actually tax breaks that can be given if somebody picks that property up, and you can actually go after the owner different ways. I'll have to see if I can find that information and get it to you. That it looked like it was maybe a viable route for us to get rid of some of these buildings.
So, engineer Dietrich, Chuck had been working with us a little bit too, and he had identified a couple of properties in town. And so this is something that we've already discussed a few meetings ago. But yeah, I think it's definitely something that we should look into.
So, Mr. Mayor, I don't have the information with me. I've actually done some research on this, and I know there's some stuff at the state level on just this, that like a house, you have a house that's abandoned, you go in and tear that down or whatever. There's actually tax breaks that can be given if somebody picks that property up, and you can actually go after the owner different ways. I'll have to see if I can find that information and get it to you.
So need to get taken care of and move on. Because, I mean, they've been left for a long time, so it'd be good for us to actually move on it.
I guess after that discussion, I think probably I should just get with Greg and the chief, and I don't see any issue with us on like the actual junk, or somebody who's just not cleaning up their weeds, right? I mean, that's just a bill basically being sent, and I'm sure in the summer, if the need came about, that if we needed to hire a few extra part-time people to do something like that, I don't think it'd be an issue. But council, I think probably the next thing moving forward would probably be just to kind of figure out what we are going to do with those junk vehicles if we do go down this avenue. So that's all I have.
Do we have any further questions for Attorney Dublin Hughes?
I have a couple. Okay, to give this cheap, is there a way, like, if we send somebody a bill, and they thumb their nose at us, and they don't pay their bill, and they live out of the state, I truly can we pass an ordinance that bill that we've sent, and if we clean up their property, and we've actually had labor on it, that it all becomes part of a lien that this city holds against that property? Absolutely. And can we pass that as law in this community?
Well, I mean, just in general, it's if you have a debt, you can secure a lien on a myriad of things. So I'd have to, if you want to know the truth, I've never actually secured a lien that would be as small as, say, a $200 mowing bill. So I'm not entirely sure that bill process.
No, I'm compound interest on that.
So some of these things are much bigger than $200 mowing bills. I agree with you, but we don't want to.
What I'm saying is, just procedurally, they're going to have very different avenues. They're going to be in different courts. That's what I'm trying to get at. So I'd have to look into that to really know on a small claim sort of judgment is what we're looking at. But yeah, I don't see any reason why you couldn't do that. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for Attorney Hughes? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 3. Clerk Treasurer Stacey Haggerty.
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I have is to notify the council that one of my clerks is on leave, so we'll be a little short-handed in the office for a few months. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Clerk Treasurer Stacey Haggerty?
Did you say it's going to be on leave?
It's one of my clerks.
Okay. Thank you, Stacey. Moving on to item number 4, Public Works Supervisor Greg Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My first item is a resolution number 8, Series 2025. This is for a grant application for emergency generators for 2 water pump stations, one by the shop and one by tank number 1. We are applying for $400,000 through State Homeland Security Program, grant program, administered by the Wyoming Office of State or Homeland Security. This was another one of the items we identified during a risk and resilience assessment, was not having backup power for our pump stations during long-term power outages, anything over a day. Summertime can be difficult to keep water going. The one at tank number 1 is the only way the Honor Camp and 2 water districts get any water. So if we lose power for a week, we cannot move water to that tank.
It's going to take a lot more than a 5-person economic development board or the 7-person city council or the 5-person county commissioners or even the hospital board. The public at this point really needs to have a stake in the game and needs to come forward and to have some honest discussions and some ideas. And even more than just the community, I'd say the younger people, those younger people in their 20s that are in Newcastle and Weston County raising their kids, those people that don't want to leave, those people that want their kids to grow up in Newcastle and graduate an NHS Dogie just like they did. Those are the people that are going to have to step up and come forward and offer some solutions and do a little bit of soul searching and becoming a more active member in the community.
I would recommend a motion to move forward with the resolution.
Okay, I'll go ahead and read resolution number 8, series 2025, entitled "A Resolution Authorizing Submission of an Application to the DHS/FEMA 2025 State Homeland Security Program grant on behalf of the governing body for the City of Newcastle for the purpose of purchasing 2 backup generators to prevent, prepare for, protect against, and respond to acts of terrorism against the city's water supply. Witnesseth. Whereas the governing body of the City of Newcastle desires to participate in the Department of Homeland Security and Federal Emergency Management Agency 2025 State Homeland Security Program, grant program administered by the Wyoming Office of Homeland to assist in financing this project. And whereas the governing body of the City of Newcastle recognizes the need for the project, and whereas the SHSP program requires that certain criteria be met as described in the Notice of Funding Opportunity and the fiscal year 2025 DHS standard terms and conditions, and to the best of our knowledge, this application meets those criteria. And now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the City of Newcastle that an application in the amount of $400,000 for the purchase of 2 generators to prevent, prepare for, protect against, and respond to acts of terrorism against the city's water supply. Be it further resolved that Greg Stumpf, Public Works Supervisor, Stacy Haggerty, Clerk Treasurer, Beth Blackwell, Grant Loan Specialist, and Steve Dietrich, City Engineer, are hereby designated as the authorized representatives of the City of Newcastle to act on behalf of the governing body on all matters relating to this application. So passed and approved and adopted this 15th day of September 2025. Does the council entertain a motion to approve resolution number 8, series 2025?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion we approve the resolution number 8, series 2025.
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
I have. What happens if we don't get the money?
We look for another source.
Okay. As long as it just doesn't come out of our budget. Okay.
I know the county was awarded a grant similar to this, or I believe it was probably off the SHSP grant for a generator for the backup for the city all in dispatch.
What is the power supply for these generators?
Propane,
Okay.
unfortunately.
I knew we had a natural gas problem, and we didn't want them to be electric. That would be worse yet, almost.
Yeah, no, our intent is to put up, the one at the tank number 1 will have to be propane anyway, because there is no gas line there. We've checked on these generators, including the one for the sewage lift station we just finished putting together, or putting online. They can be converted over to natural gas if at some point we can actually get natural gas service. We did want to make sure we had that ability, and we do. Our intent is to go with propane now, and if at a later date we can actually get propane or get natural gas, we'll switch over to natural gas.
Cool.
We're looking at 7 days worth of storage on site to run the generators.
Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, and I don't know if it makes a whole lot of difference or not, but under your first whereas under witness, that last sentence, Wyoming Office of Homeland, should that be Office of Homeland Security?
Probably, that's one I didn't catch.
Thanks for your attention to detail.
Yeah, I know these grants and this stuff, they get real finicky with stuff like that.
So we can, if we can do it as corrected, and we could probably send it tomorrow then.
Can we just, make the
The motion was for 2025 State Homeland Security Program, SHSP, grant on behalf of the governing body. And I understand that you have basically a typo in there, but the resolution still stands. I would just have, if the council wants to correct it, you can move forward with that. But it's gonna function the same way either way.
Okay, is there anything further?
If we needed to make an addendum to the motion, then I would make it where with the correction of wording to Homeland Security within that resolution.
So we have an amended motion on the floor to correct the grammar.
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, council. My next item, we received the review from YDOT on the engine brake signs and the mirror. We're working on getting them. We've sent off everything we can in today. They don't like my sign, so they told me how I'm gonna have it. So we sent that off, and we will make those corrections without any problem. The mirrors, they wanted to know more detail on the breakaway system for in case it does get hit. It won't cause damage and actually falls away on the brakes. We provided them with details on our system. Just to remind the council, the show and shine is this weekend, or shine and show. My next item, the Dow Park restroom. We received the 50% grant for the restroom. So we're moving forward with getting the paperwork in line and stuff like that. I did request a Parks Committee meeting if we can meet the 17th, this Wednesday at 4:30, to review some of the grant documents and the building itself, how we want it, what we want it to look like, so we can move forward with that.
I'd like to add something to the Parks Committee's agenda for that meeting.
Okay.
And then what was the date that you proposed?
The 17th.
The 17th?
September 17th, 4:30 at the council chambers.
At 4:30 at the council chambers. I would like to try to get a hold of representatives from the Bent Sprockets Bike Club, because our project is kind of stalled out, and I would like to have some open dialogue with the Parks Committee on where we're at on the project, and if there's any proposed dates for any maintenance or improvements on the property, and then go over the MOU with the Bent Sprockets Club and determine, I think there's been a misunderstanding, but we made the MOU because we were trying to allow them to have a little bit of skin in the game and ability to do things with the city in regard to getting funding or other activities. So we just need to get back together and try to figure out what's going on. So I can reach out to anybody.
It's on the agenda.
Oh, you already have it on the agenda?
Yes, but it was mainly to discuss the backyard park with the committee first, and then that way we can review the MOU ourselves.
Oh,
and then-
sorry, I didn't mean to jump the gun there.
That's okay.
Okay? Okay, would you like to do it that way then,
Yeah,
instead?
I'd like to visit with the committee
The committee
first,
first.
and then we can bring Brent and Sprockets in later. So just so we're all on the same page and understand the MOU well enough to really discuss it.
Okay, well, it sounds like it's already on the agenda, council, so I jumped the gun. I apologize, and we'll move forward.
My next item, Duff Avenue Sewer Project. As of September 11th, the old lift station was decommissioned and the new one was commissioned. We did a training the same day with representatives from the manufacturers while they were here. And on the back page, you can see the remnants of the lift station. I've only been looking for this one for about 28 years, so. It was definitely a much needed project and definitely worth the effort. But we do have the grade school and the two water tap or sewer taps that were on the Salt Creek Water District and go into our system.
So is that gonna eliminate the payment to the Salt Creek?
Yes, it will.
Excellent.
The next item we talked about is a little, on our grant section, we're applying for the emergency generators. If we aren't successful here, we'll go somewhere else and look for some more money. The other one we applied for, I had mentioned the VW grant that is to decrease emissions. We are applying for, and you'll see another resolution probably next meeting, for the purchase of 2 tandem axle dump trucks through the program. They were wanting the grant. We have the other public meeting tomorrow night at 6:30 or 6 o'clock here for the wastewater stormwater master plan. It's a requirement, it's a requirement for the SRF funding to have public meetings. Other than that, I have nothing further. Are there any questions?
Does anyone got any questions for Public Works Supervisor Scott? Hearing none, we'll move forward with Engineer Stephen Keith. Thanks, Greg.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, you have before you and myself, the engineering report. Under number 1, the building department, the typo there, the 16 active projects that are outlined there, including roofs and decks and doors and windows, all down the line, garage and fence. There were no commercial construction projects to report on. And then construction costs and permitting fees for September, you see for the first half of the month, total construction costs $148,355, and then permit fees collected for that is just over $2,100. Moving on to planning and zoning, there was really nothing to report from the September 11th meeting. It was a very brief meeting, but I would like to add that along with that meeting, there was also an ordinance number 13, series 1985, that the council had heard about and was directed at that time Engineer Bartlett to make some changes, which he has done. But I also want to let you be aware that the fact that this ordinance number 13, series 1985, will have to be advertised and go through the planning commission before it comes back around to the council. And then Washington Park improvements, pavilion repairs have been completed, all the rod and glue is replaced, and painting and staining is mostly done, with the exception of inside of one of the roof. Everything else has been completed. And moving on, asset management. The location for the emergency generator for City Hall, the PD dispatch will at this point be located in the southeast corner of the building around here with the landscape. And I'm coordinating with police department as well as some other folks who are doing the landscaping removal. And Mr. Oh yeah, here. Thompson. No, not Thompson. Nelson? Yeah, yes, Mr. Nelson, on the sketch that I sent him to help him visualize the dimensions and the location. Thank you. That is all of my report.
Thank you, Engineer Dietrich. Does anybody have any questions for Engineer? Hearing none. I'm disappointed. We're gonna dig up the yard over there. Yeah. Hey, I was on the tree board and helped pick out some of the little trees that we planted and stuff over there.
They're movable.
Yeah, hopefully we can move them somewhere else.
I promise that we'll minimize that as much as possible, but some of them do have to be moved.
Thank you, sir. If we have nothing else for Engineer Dietrich, thank you, sir. Moving on to claims against the city dated September 15th, 2025.
I move. We tell you the claims against the city. Second.
We have a motion properly seconded to pay the claims against the city. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. We have a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. We adjourned at 8:38 p.m.
You know whether there's a just waste this